Hi everyone, so sorry I haven't posted any videos in a while. I've actually been on a really exciting adventure to New York for the Montessori Model United Nations, and it got even more exciting because we got stuck in the winter storm Stella. So I have just made it back to New Zealand. So I thought it'd be really good to do a little wrap up of the amazing experience that was Montessori Model United Nations and tell you a little bit about our experience. So we've had two boys. They were both 10 years old, and we flew over from New Zealand to the Big Apple of New York, and that in itself was really exciting. One of the boys, it was his first time on a plane, and so arriving in the big lights of New York was pretty exciting. And so the first day they had like an opening ceremony, and the boys had their flag of Togo, and the Marriott ballroom was filled with like nearly 3,500 people, and it was just insane to be amongst that many people, and there was an amazing kind of energy in the air, and the boys, did their little round with their flag, and it was just so exciting. It was a great way to start the conference. And the second day we went straight into what we call like the committee meetings, and so the first day our children spoke on the protection of children's rights in Togo, and the boy who spoke on that, I was very nervous for him. He was so nervous, and I don't think you can ever kind of predict how the children are going to respond. He was in a huge committee room. He had to deliver a speech, and he does have some learning difficulties with reading and writing, so it made it very nerve-wracking for him. I'm sure he's growling at something. But his time came to get up and speak, and he did his opening speech beautifully, and it nearly brought a tear to my eye. And he was just so proud of himself. And watching all of the children do the opening speeches, you could just see the smiles on their faces when they came down and how proud they felt. And it was just amazing to hear all these 9 to 12-year-old children do these beautiful speeches on really complex topics, and speak with kind of a lot of passion for the country they were representing. And then it moved into kind of negotiation stage, and the children worked together to find resolutions, and it was so beautiful to be an event that was run by Montessori adults and high school students. And so as soon as you entered the committee rooms, you were not allowed to interact with the children anymore. They have to sort out the problems by themselves, and it works because there's some children that have done that for years, the MMUN, and other children like our children that were completely new, and so between them all they figure out how to work things out. I guess they learn how the process goes, and it was just beautiful to be in the room and watch relationships form and opinions being shared, and watch even how the adults and the children, high school students, kind of treated the children with such respect, and they listened, and how capable the children were. It was a huge day. It was like 9 to 5, and a lot of it was listening, and a lot of it was quite stationary. It was very formal, and the kids just did so well. It was amazing. And then it moved on to kind of an editing process here at the end of the day, which was very time consuming as well. And then that night there was a cultural night, so some of the countries shared some dances and things like that. And then the next day they moved into another committee, and our other child spoke, and he did a brilliant job as well. And then that night also there was an amazing kind of huge disco for all the children, and it was wonderful because they were all just meeting people from all around the world. They were trading souvenirs from their countries, and it was just such a cool atmosphere. And this whole conference was really designed around children, and that 9 to 12-year-old child, and it just worked so well. So they had a very late night that night, but the next day we got to go to the United Nations, and that was to pass these solutions that they'd written up, the resolutions. And it was just such a surreal experience being in the General Assembly Hall of the United Nations. Again, we couldn't go on the floor with the children. They were down there by themselves, and it was just huge. It was amazing to be there. And it was really, it was so well done. It ended up being such a real life scenario, because some committees didn't pass their resolutions because they couldn't get all their countries to agree, and others they all passed, and and it was run so authentically, I guess, like the United Nations would be run. And so I think that was an amazing experience for the boys as well. And they were seated next to the country representing New Zealand, which was really cool for them because obviously that's where they're from. And so they made friends with them as well. And that was kind of the end of the experience. And it was just a full-on 4 days. You know, there was things day and night. And I was so proud of the boys and how mature they were and how respectful they were, and just the whole experience was, I think, pretty life-changing for them. And we carried out a bit of a survey with one of them after the event, and how it had changed, you know, what the main changes for him had been going through the experience. And he said things like being much more aware of global issues, and he really wanted to go to Togo now because he'd learnt so much about it. And just he just said, I didn't know there were so many problems, and it was really good to, I think, so he kind of had never realised that there were so many different perspectives, and so he was really interested in that. And he also said, you know, I don't feel nervous about public speaking now, and people who do speeches, they just shouldn't be nervous, you know, it's actually quite easy once you've done it. So and this was from a very nervous little boy on the day. So to see his confidence grow like that, to see his awareness about issues, to see his passion to travel to other countries, and it was really, really special. So I don't have anything but, you know, praise for the MMUN. I loved the experience. I think that we're going to have children that want to do it, you know, every year. You know, I'm kind of like, oh, what have I started? But it's just such a great way for children to learn to see things from different perspectives and realise, you know, and stop the fear of other, and, you know, try and see where they're coming from and why they feel that way. And just a great thing to do for that 9 to 12 age group. It was very social, the ideas were big, it was meaty, and they could really get their teeth into it. And yeah, I would highly recommend it. I loved every minute of it.